Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the South Asian Apparel Leadership Forum. We would like to very specially welcome our chief guest for today, Mr. Bandhu Legodage, Chairman, Export Development Board. Thank you for being with us. And also Ms. Jenny Schaefer, former Chief Creative Director, Victoria's Secret, and founder of Knickerbox. Thank you very much also for being with us today. We would now like to acknowledge the sponsors. Our principal sponsor, MAS. Key stakeholders, Export Development Board. Key stakeholders, Sri Lanka Apparel. Official thread partner, Coats. Official software partner, GT Nexus. Official fabric partner, Textured Jersey. Sustainable Fashion Summit sponsor, Standard Chartered. Knowledge partner, British Council. Official host, Mount Lavinia Hotel. Contributing venue, Cinnamon Lakeside, Colombo. International media, WGSN, Just Style Drapers and Social Media. Hair and Makeup, Shadal Gunratna Hairdressing. Contributing partners, Girth Institute, Trio, Vista Advertising, Sunshine Travels and Tours Limited, and Karshapa Theatre and Film Lights. And event founder, AOD. I would now like to invite Kumar Muchandani, Managing Director, Favorite Group and co-chair of the forum. Kumar.
Well, okay, we've got to deal with a little bit of a strange setup here because we have two sides of the audience and we have the lectern over there. So there goes my idea of my notes on something. So we'll just wing it from here. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all nice and early on a Saturday. And welcome to the 5th Sri Lanka Design Festival Apparel Leadership Forum. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. I'm very glad you're all here, but we have 3 very tough ladies running this event. So any suggestion to push the time back was rejected immediately. Okay, it's been quite a ride with the Apparel Leadership Forum. We started off 5 years ago with very, very basic things to talk about Sri Lanka and its industry. I remember going back, making the opening address then, and this is me doing it 5 years later. All we talked about then was just highlighting Sri Lanka's position on social accountability, environmental accountability, and things which are considered very, very basic hygiene factors today. And then we moved on to discussing consumer behavior, design and retailer response, marketing, logistics, supply chain. And believe me, in those 5 years, we've had some heated debates. We've had some insults thrown. But most of all, we shared our experiences, we listened, and we learned from experts in their field. Well, that's my wish for today as well. A bit of a fight, that's okay, but hopefully we have good lessons learned for everybody. And all along this journey, or most of it actually, we've had a very good friend of Sri Lanka, Kurt Cavano, by our side. And I'm very happy that he's the co-chair of the event today, so thank you, Kurt. If our industry was a stagnant one, we would really have not much to talk about. What would we talk about year after year after year? But we will all acknowledge, and we all know this, some of it with painful experiences to relate, that we are constantly changing, we're constantly evolving, and dare I say, even innovating. And in the past year, we have had all of this. But we also had, unfortunately, one of the greatest or the biggest industrial accidents in modern times at Rana Plaza. On the 24th of April, 2013, the Rana Plaza tragedy saw over 1,000 people from our trade lose their lives. So as a small gesture of respect, may I request all of you to rise and observe 1 minute silence in respect to our colleagues in the industry. Thank you. At this point, with no disrespect to anybody, I would like to mention an article I read recently taken from a report about looking for new sources, chasing the cheap needle, as it were. It was released by the CEO of the quality control providing company, Asia Inspection. And the CEO had this to say, Sebastian Breteau, and I quote, "Shifting production carries a social cost and likely leads to a drop in social compliance. Buyers should therefore be aware that shifting production to cheaper regions is likely at the cost of social compliance, unquote. This is one of the never-ending debates this industry has faced over the several years, and we are likely to hear a lot more about this little dilemma as the day goes on. And furthermore, as a result of the tragedy that I spoke about earlier, according to Asia Inspection again, there has been a 57% increase in the number of audits around Asia since the tragedy, and 167% increase in the number of audits in Bangladesh. It's another conundrum for our distinguished panels later on today. Well, having got that off my chest, when thinking about how to start off this session today, I asked several industry leaders what they thought were the most important events or developments that took place in our industry over the last year. And this is what they had to say. I've broken this down into global, local, negative, and positive to make it easy. Global negative, recession in our major markets, price deflation, customers still chasing this cheap needle, that dilemma continues. And interestingly, could Obamacare, the mandatory insurance in the States, could that affect consumer spending in 2014? Global positive, emerging economies, new markets. We heard something about that yesterday. Increasing demand for social accountabilities, that kind of counterbalances the first point, the first negative. And online retailing as a positive, breaking down geographical borders. From a Sri Lankan point of view, negative, labor shortages in urban and semi-rural areas, other sectors competing for labor, power costs, especially impacting weaving and textile plants, textile and washing plants, and brain drain. I think all of us have experienced loss of management from this country to other countries in the region. And for example, I know a lot of people who moved over to Bangladesh where really they pay a fair amount of money for management, even though they pay very little for labor. And Sri Lanka positive. Sri Lanka's technical growth and ability in design, lean manufacturing, know-how. We have a smaller factory base, but exports are increasing, which shows that scale is happening in Sri Lanka now, which wasn't quite the case some years ago. And of course, the new amendments to the Finance Act, the hub regulations allowing Sri Lanka to leverage on global sourcing. Now, this is the big news from Sri Lanka this year. You will hear more later, this afternoon. Again, Sri Lanka is showing leadership, as we did on social and environmental accountability. A regional hub for a country such as ours, with an economy such as ours, is quite unique. We've had to be bold, we've had to be brave, we've had to take some risks, but we've done that. We've created a regional hub here, changed the legislation of the country, opening up many, many, many different avenues of business in our trade centered around the traditional production model. So therefore, we hope that Sri Lanka will constantly keep evolving and stay relevant in the marketplace. And in a global, all-inclusive industry perspective, in that context, I will add one challenge of my own: speed to market, or fast fashion, if you will. I'll quote you something which is written in a report from the School of Business, Robert H. Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland. And I quote, "Having an efficient and fast reacting supply chain should be a must for any fashion brand or retailer, but market disruption caused by the internet and globalization has made it more vital than ever before." Unquote. By market disruption, I think what she means, what the report means is, we are facing unpredictable consumer buying patterns. Nobody really knows what the consumer is going to buy next. Spending power shifts within both our traditional and emerging markets. It's different segments of the population have the money as opposed to before, to put it very simply. And we've got to be able to identify those segments. The new emerging economies are a market that we can't ignore. And for me, the big point in the little bit of reading I did before today was this one, which is the total empowerment of the consumer, who can now pull information and compare product, price, service, quality without waiting for the old-fashioned story of the retailer or the brand trying to push it onto you. The consumer can now pull information. And believe you me, that's going to make things really, really tough for everybody. Cross-border shopping via the internet with no respect for geographical borders. I mean, you can sit in Sri Lanka and buy branded clothing from the US or Europe and get it delivered here by courier. So how does that change how we react as a supply chain? There's no geographical border for shopping anymore. You can't identify one area, one group of people. It's from all over the world, good and bad. And traditional supply chains just can't handle it. And just when you thought you were safe, here come the disruptive retailers. Here comes Zara. Here comes H&M, who completely screwed up our lives, didn't they? Completely. For example, Zara runs up to 20 collections a year. This demands a cycle time of 4 weeks from design to store. To service these new needs, the entire manufacturing paradigm has to be rethought. And if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Thank you. What we have next is a bespoke video, specially made for this event by Future Laboratory, a UK-based consultancy for trend forecasting, brand strategy, and consumer insight. So this is specially made for us. Enjoy.
It's also the home of the Future Laboratory and its 50-strong team of forecasters, editors, researchers, and trend visualizers. And their job?
To identify what's new, next, and innovative in future trends. Greetings to our many friends at the Sri Lanka Design Festival. My name is Martin Raymond, and I'm the co-founder of the Future Laboratory.
And I'm Chris Sanderson. And this is a short and hopefully incisive look at one of the key trends delegates need to consider for 2014 and beyond.
And coming up, we'll be looking at the top 10 retail interiors for 2014.
We'll also be looking at the rise of the retail megasystems.
And how science, technology, and culture generally is redefining how brands, businesses, and services need to talk to today's consumer. But first, a short movie.
Strange days. When debates about God are replaced with discussions about the God particle. When you can buy from a brand simply by taking a snap of a stranger. When you can download a product and 3D print it in the comfort of your own home. When a company that employs 13 people sells for $1 billion. When preteens use their screen finger and glance-controlled technologies to engage with the world. The switch from the heavy to the light, the tangible to the invisible, physical to the metaphysical is far more profound than most of us truly understand. And so we move from the age of industry to the dawn of the megasystems, where brands, businesses and corporations print products and dreams at will, where science and culture become the new pathways to re-enlightened thinking and secular spiritualism.
Strange days indeed. Chris, megasystems, mega retailing, can you tell me exactly what this means to the people watching today?
Well, what we're beginning to see, Martin, I think, is how technology is heralding a new dawn in retail, and it really is beginning to challenge and change the way that we think about our retail structures and our retail systems. Now, if we think about the online services that many of us use every single day, Apple, Amazon, Alibaba, Google, Facebook, they've really changed. They're no longer just social networks. Many of them have become very complex trading systems. They're online mega systems, if you like, or even mega retailers. And today and tomorrow, consumers, millions of us, actually live, socialise, engage, research, and of course shop and trade through these systems. Now, let me just give you some facts. Amazon's 2012 revenue was $61 billion US, thanks to sales across 40 different categories, including media, technology, wine, cars, of course fashion, beauty and luxury. Google, their 2012 revenue exceeded $50 billion across, again, its search and advertising platforms, including YouTube, Blogger, Android, as well as obviously its Gmail. Now, if we compare that to apparel businesses that have global revenue, we can look at Gap, with a 2012 recorded revenue of about $15.7 billion, and Zara with, again, a recorded revenue of about $13.8 billion. So I think this really begins to show us the size of these megasystems, and of course what we need to start thinking about is that the Googles and Amazons of this world are starting to consider what might happen if they were to move into bricks and mortar retailing.
You know, I suppose we call it bricks and mortar. We also call it BAM, as in bricks and mortar. And I think one of the big shifts we're beginning to see is the number of retailers who are doing a thing called showrooming. Showrooming works in two ways. The first is where the consumer is coming into the store and really using their mobile phone to check and compare and to test the prices within the store to see if they can get a better deal either in the store or elsewhere. So what retailers are looking at, and what a lot of big department stores are doing, is using this process to help them refine the kind of SKUs they're offering to the consumer. So rather having 20 or 30 products, they're offering one or two of the best kind of products and then allowing you to research variations of them online. So essentially what this means is a department store given over to experience, better service, more focused displays, but also I think more in line with how the consumer themselves are beginning to shop. However, I think the other big change we're seeing is a lot of people just staying within the social networks that they are working on or playing on and using them to do retail in a different way. Chris, can you tell me more about those kind of systems?
Yeah, this is what's known as walled gardens, and this phrase really is used to refer to the closed areas you find within a larger system, a wall around a particular space. So on the internet, for example, your Facebook page is a walled garden because you limit access to that space to only a select few people, and so that creates this walled garden. So retailers increasingly who have a presence on Facebook are using the walled garden model to offer members-only style benefits, and one of the best examples we've seen of this recently is the YSL Beauty company, which has created special limited edition product called Devoted to Fans that is only available through Facebook and to its Facebook fans and friends, creating, as it were, a walled garden or even a walled reward for those people who demonstrate their loyalty and their engagement to the brand. ASOS, the British online fashion retailer, offered Facebook fans an exclusive sale that resulted in an estimated 67% spend increase within this particular category. So what we see is how this approach of rewarding and working with your select groups of online loyal consumers really can pay dividends. So what we see is how working with your dedicated cohort of fans or friends really can pay dividends.
So what happens when you take the physical and the digital and merge them together? Well, actually what we're seeing is a trend we've called phygital, as in physical and digital, and quite a lot of retailers are rather using this as a way of combating I suppose, the desire among consumers to go online and shop. So if you think about stores like Burberry, for example, in London, they've managed to create an environment that pretty much mimics what you find online. So as you walk around the store, you find lots of screens being activated as you pass them, so showing you details about the product, showing you information about the history of the manufacture of the product. Then you'll find one of the bags you lift and place on a particular pad or screen in the store will activate the virtual contents of the bag. So it will tell you details about how the bag was made, history about the Burberry brand, but also other details about customers using the store at the time that you're walking through it. It's also a live music venue. So it's not just a place for shopping, it's a place for entertaining and a place for socializing. And then finally, they've turned it into the kind of store where you have live catwalk streams, live data being fed in much the same way that you find when you're sitting in front of your computer at home. So really what we're seeing is the merging of the kind of physical attributes of the store mixed with the digital, but also offering the customer a more immersive and experiential journey. So I think one of the other things we're beginning to see, Chris, is this clash or merging of technologies that you find on your phone, like apps doing very much the same thing.
Absolutely, and as we saw in our opening movie, strange days indeed when I can shop from a brand simply by taking a snap of a stranger. But that's what the app, Snap Fashion, allows us to do by using cameras and by using shape-sensitive technology. It actually recognises the style, the shape of a shoe or a handbag or a dress, and then will put you in touch with over 150 UK retailers who have an item that matches your search in terms of its look, its colour and its style. So look out for Snap Fashion going global, or a local version coming to your iPhone or your Android system very, very soon. Of course, created by a 26-year-old fashion graduate. What next? Well, what next is that we're seeing the fight back from BAM. Bricks and mortar is fighting back, becoming more aggressive in its approach of understanding that it still has a role to play in retail. And so high streets, malls, all thinking very carefully about their role in retail as we see increased spends online.
Rather than say too much more about BAM, as in bricks and mortar, we're actually going to show you some of the top 10 interior showcases for 2014.
BAM indeed. But this push towards experience is part of a bigger trend, a move that we're seeing with consumers away from a blingy, celebrity-driven society towards a newfound interest in science, in culture, in education, in wonder, and in learning. Martin, if the last decade was all about looking in, focusing on self, maybe being insular and dumbing down, what's happening in this decade, the 2013s and 14s and beyond?
I think we're beginning to see a thing we call brightening up, as in people reaching out, looking up, engaging in more complex activities. We're seeing the return of the philosopher again, the scientist as hero, technologists, engineers as people we want to celebrate. And in fact, when you look at children's toys and that, they're finally reissuing those, female dolls that used to be doctors and nurses as female technologists, female astronomers. So everything is about making people seem more intelligent, and I suppose really the trend that we're looking at is where the consumer wants things to be a bit more complex and a bit more imaginative, but really and overall they want excitement and a sense of awe and wonder built back into the products they're buying.
And risk, of course, which I think is a major component here, this trend towards pushing the boundaries, towards exploration and adventuring, whether it be to sail single-handedly across the ocean, to visit the polar ice caps, to discover parts of the planet no one has been to go to the depths of the ocean, and of course to escape our planet and to go into space. We're seeing all sorts of new space exploration programs, both governmental and privately funded. And of course, it's no wonder that over 8 million people tuned in online to watch Felix Baumgartner and his jump from space, sponsored by Red Bull.
Speed 650 miles per hour. Speed 725. Speed 729. Felix at a stable descent.
Exciting stuff. But let's come back down to earth for a moment and look at what this really means to delegates at the festival today. Chris, can you just recap on some of the themes and insights that you think people should be noting from all of the things we've looked at?
Well, I think firstly we have to appreciate that our customers are becoming far more complex in their engagement with brands. They want relationships with brands, and increasingly they expect to be able to hold these across more than one platform. They want to be able to go in store, but they want to reach the brand through a mobile phone, through an app, through a tablet, whatever it might be. It's a more complicated arrangement than it was in the past.
I mean, I suppose one of the other things that I was thinking about is the nature of experience is changing. You really have to immerse people in the experience of the brand. You have to think about collaborating with them. So in the old days, business and retail was about transaction. In the 90s, it was about relationships, and now it's about conversations. So the notion of creating conversations that are experiential and collaborative, but also engaging. I think that's one of the key things, is how you engage people in the kind of the values and lifestyle of your brand.
It really is about this idea of anytime, any place, anywhere. That's how the customer is now thinking about your product. If they're thinking about it at all, but they want to be able to pull out their phone and engage with the brand, which is why we talk about share of pocket. What's my share of pocket? Because that's where my phone sits. So am I engaged across all different platforms, be it BAM, bricks and mortar, be it online, be it mobile?
I think one of the other key takeouts is ensuring that the retail environment mimics the environment they're finding online. So again, making sure you can buy at any point on the customer journey, buy at what we would say the point of inspiration. So when I see the product, can I purchase it? Are all of your products available online as well as in store? So don't have a small collection online and the big one in store. The customer isn't thinking about your store, the customer is thinking about shopping. So I think that's one of the crucial moments. And then finally, just some of the words we'd like you to take away for consideration. Being imaginative. Always use your imagination when trying to create a new product or an engagement with the customer.
Being playful, understanding that the 21st century customer wants to have fun. They want to play, and they want to play with your brand.
And I think, one of the final things is to be experiential. Allow the customer to be part of the drama of the brand.
If anything, allow your customer to become center stage of your brand. Put them on a stage. Allow them to become the star.
Here's a good example from Coca-Cola. But in the meantime, enjoy the festival.
I guess we learn a new word every day, phygital. And I can tell you when that word came up on the screen,
Welcome
Paul
to
over
London.
there.
Some might say the center.
Am I being upstaged? So when phygital was mentioned, Paul over there, the CEO of Courts, buried his head in his hands because here's another challenge, here's something new. As you can see, there's a lot of focus here on retail. And I think from what I'm getting is that we are now understanding, and I'm talking from this especially from our context here, as manufacturers in Sri Lanka, that at the end of the day, you can't fight the market. You can't fight the market. And you have to understand what retailers are doing, who are trying to understand what consumers are doing before you can be a world-class manufacturer. So on that note, I'd like to invite my friend, the event co-chair, Vice Chairman, Founder, Chief Strategy Officer of GT Nexus, formerly known as TradeCard, Kurt Cavano.
Thank you, Kumar.
The state of retail.
Okay, I have never followed a video speaker before, so this is a new thing for me. Everybody stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. I want everybody up. Come on, Professor. You too. Okay, I want you all to sing along. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Come on. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. All right. Now you can sit down. Don't you feel better? Doesn't that make you feel good? I find that energizing. Now let's see if my presentation works. Come on. There we go. Beautiful. So why am I happy to be here today? I'm happy to be here today for a few reasons. One, I love coming to Sri Lanka. I come a few times a year. It's a beautiful country full of beautiful people, and as I always say, they're always smiling. Kumar, not always, but mostly everybody else. So it's a fantastic place. I'm really happy because last night's show, how many people were at the show last night? Raise your hands. If you weren't at the show last night, you missed something inspiring. For Sri Lanka to make the transition from being a manufacturing kind of outsourcing country to making the transition to being really contributing in the fashion supply chain, really being a part of it, you need really good designers. And last night, and I've been to 3 now of these forums, last night was just incredible when you saw the quality of the stuff that was being produced here in Sri Lanka. The designs that were being made were amazing. And using the handicrafts, using the hand loom, the batik, and it didn't feel like kind of stuff you'd buy at a tourist hotel. It felt like stuff you'd see on the runway. It was really, really beautiful. And that transition of being able to bring that talent into the supply chain and help them make Sri Lanka really contributing a part of the world's fashion industry, that was fantastic to see. And it was really wonderful to see that. And I can't wait for tonight, because we're going to see more of it. It should be really, really amazing. So I encourage everybody to try to get there tonight. So I'm going to talk a little bit about retail. I overlap a little bit with the future laboratory stuff. So I got a few slides that will kind of transition well into that. The social media is changing everything. How many of you have Facebook accounts? Raise your hands. Almost all of you. How many of you have Twitter accounts? Okay, follow me, Kurt Cavanaugh. You'll know where I am, at least, as I travel around the world doing this stuff. It has changed everything. It has fundamentally changed the experience. You saw some of the examples with the previous presentation of how it's changing media. It's all about the consumer. It's all about giving it, you heard them say it, any way they want it. Anywhere, any way. And it's not traditional, it's not the brick and mortar anymore. They talked about these cool stores that are being made because people have really, really started to embrace technology. The UPS, and in the United States, UPS is like